Mother Knows Death, starring Nicole and Jemmy and Maria Q. Kane.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Mother Knows Death. Today we have a very special guest for you, our new friend, Susan Hendricks. We met Susan at one of our events on a recent trip to Atlanta, and we instantly bonded with her because, of course, she's from New Jersey. She's a journalist, author of the book Down the Hill, and host of a show, Headline Crime, on YouTube. Susan anchored Weekend Express on HLN for years and has earned widespread recognition for her coverage of the Delphi double murder case and her coverage of the Gabby Petito story. Throughout her career, she's been a regular news contributor on networks including CNN, NBC, and ABC, and she will be a speaker at next month's CrimeCon with the families of the Delphi murder victims and investigators from the case. Hi, Susan. Welcome to the show.
Hi, it's so good to see you both. I'm so glad Cheryl introduced us.
I know,
Oh my
I
God, of
am
course.
too. It's really good timing that we're having you on today because Hulu released a documentary called Capturing Their Killer, The Girls on High Bridge, and obviously you are the expert on the Delphi case, so tell us a little bit about what's going on with that. Have you seen the documentary yet?
Yeah, I watched it yesterday, and there's a few friends of mine that I met there outside of court. And this trial was, I think, about 30 days. It was a long trial. And because there were no cameras in the courtroom, there were people who obviously wanted to get in. There were long lines. So I got to know Tom Webster is one of the, he has a YouTube channel, and he was heavily in this documentary. Now, I got word that this documentary was being made and was asked to be in it. And I said no, only because I thought it would shift. I knew it would be kind of, I wasn't sure how they were going to portray the family members. So to be safe, I just wasn't in it. But I will say, in watching episode 1, I think they did a great job of talking about who Abby was, who Libby was, interviewing Becky, Mike, Libby's mom, Abby's mom. I thought that was very well done in terms of getting to know them. I guess I thought it'd be more heavily, I don't know, there was so much vitriol. And this isn't about your opinion of the case. He was found guilty. I believe the jurors made the right decision. But there was so much anger and vitriol. And what fueled that fire was no cameras in the courtroom. So I understand why people felt the way they felt. But I was in there, and I believe he is guilty. But the documentary, I thought, did a great job. I saw pictures of Abby I hadn't seen before and Libby.
Are they trying, is that what they told you before when they asked you to be in it, like that it was being geared a certain kind of way? Like, are they trying to put doubt in people's mind that he was really the killer?
And I think, knowing what I know for so many years in broadcast media, they want to hook you. You see it in Dateline, right? So you see it in all the different shows. During this, and I think, and it was just my personal preference not to be involved in it. The crime scene photos were leaked. There was so much done. The Odinism theory, I thought, created so much damage. And in my opinion, it broke the gag order. So I just had a certain feeling about it. But so there's obviously more than one kind of episode in this docu-series. And the one thing we hadn't heard from or hadn't heard of, maybe even haven't seen her, I saw her in court every day, Richard Allen's wife, and I felt for her. They were high school sweethearts. She showed her prom picture. You saw Richard Allen with his daughter in the hospital when she was born. And you just think, I was thinking while watching, what happened? What happened to this? And what makes someone do that? Because I believe he is guilty. So I felt for her. She was new in this. The defense attorneys, Rosie Baldwin and Lachey, said that he didn't get a fair trial, that they weren't allowed to bring in the third-party defense. And now I'm seeing it's kind of par for the course in terms of what attorneys are hired to do and what they do. They have hearings before a trial, and you're able to present your case, a third party, kind of saying, look, it's not my client because here's why. And Judge Gold did rule saying, you can bring in third party, but you have to have proof. You can't just pick out a name with nothing linking that person to the crime scene. And I don't think, in fact, I know they didn't have that. Um, so they weren't allowed in to bring the third party defense in. And so they talked about that in the documentary, and just how terrible Richard Allen was treated in the prison that he was in, which I think he should have been in a jail like every other prisoner who's innocent till proven guilty. But I don't believe that made him confess more than 60 times. I don't believe that played into his confessions.
I think it's really interesting you brought up the point about pictures with him and his daughter, and I had seen in the press that they were talking about how he was this family man. How could he possibly do this? But I think we saw something similar with the Golden State Killer. I mean, he was living with his daughter at the time he was arrested, and he did all those horrific things to all those women. And to think that this guy is a father just living in a house acting like a normal man, it's very
Yeah.
disturbing.
And I think that is the true, at least for me, fascination, if that's the right word, of how and why. And it could be anyone. People who are monsters don't look like that. We also saw it with BTK.
Hmm.
And I've interviewed Carrie Rawson at CrimeCon, and she said, Susan, he would make me scrambled eggs and tell me, don't forget to fill up your tires with air like a dad. And then look what he was doing. So they compartmentalize. Sociopaths and psychopaths can compartmentalize and fool the people around them. They're good at it. Most.
I was shocked when I saw the Rex Huberman, the recent one about him and his family was being interviewed. And then I saw that there was this YouTube video that was old footage that someone just so happened to be recording him for his architect stuff.
Yes, I saw that.
And seeing him talk, I'm just like, oh my God, this guy's like a dad and he's kind of like dorky.
Yeah, cracking corny jokes, right?
Yeah, I just can't imagine him being some sexual deviant pervert murderer, it was just very weird to put two and two together like that.
I know. And unless you put on uh, kind of glasses in life of believing everyone's capable of doing that, which who wants to live like that? But I do know that you never know. And I truly believe that Kathy Allen believes Richard Allen is guilty. I do. Not guilty. Sorry about that. Not guilty. I believe that she believes that. And maybe she has to believe that for survival. Imagine knowing a guy for so long, since you're 16, and then he's arrested for this. But keep in mind, for those not that familiar with the Delphi double murder, it happened in February 2017, and Abby and Libby were off on a makeup snow day on a Monday. And the town is so small. And when I was there, it's such a different perspective than to just say, oh, a small town. I grew up in New Brunswick, New Jersey. I know it's 45 minutes from New York City. I thought it was small because everyone knew their neighbors when I was growing up on that block. But that's not small, clearly. And Delphi, Indiana is really that quaint, small town where everyone knew everyone. And so I'd say about 1,500 men in living in Delphi at the time. And who's off on a Monday and whose alibi is the bridge, the same time that the girls were down there, much less the confessions. So, but just to kind of, and there's been questions to me. I know that while I was covering this and down there several times when I was working with CNN, the my father would even say, how can they not catch this guy? Because Libby hit record, one of the girls, 14 years old, Libby German, hit record on her phone and got the guy's voice saying, guys down the hill. And
So
you can see
smart.
this blurry figure behind Abby. And he has a kind of a blue jacket on and jeans. And people are, but a blurry face. It's because it's far away, pixelated. Well, the question was, how do they not know who that is? You would know your dad or your husband or your friend the way they walk. It's because everyone in that town looks similar. That's the truth. They just do. And so the sketches were different. During the investigation, this was bigger than anyone could have ever imagined. I interviewed Sheriff Tobe Lesenby. He was sheriff at the time. And he just said, Susan, nothing like this happened here. It was like Mayberry. Really, you hear the cliche all the time, no one locked their doors. No one locked their doors. So were they in over their head in the beginning? Absolutely, with all the tips coming in and all of that. But I do believe they have the right person, and it's still going on. The argument of Richard Allen, and that there's a lot of hate and platforms out there and opinions.
Yeah.
What's their reasoning to think that he's innocent? Like, what are some of the is there anyone like legit that thinks he's innocent, or it's just like people? I mean, not to
I
say
don't
that
think my
people.
algorithm is with that. I don't, but I know there's forums on Facebook and different forums of that, and Reddit. So you can find it if you look. Because there were no cameras again, and maybe the defense did a good job of kind of putting that out there of who it could possibly be, uh, because there was nothing, none of his DNA was at the scene. So there's that, and people now, you've heard it before, that they want the CSI. Everyone thinks like, oh, if there's no DNA, then it can't be him. Well, it can, and he looked like the sketch, the first sketch, which there's a lot of talk of the second sketch and then back to the first sketch. Um, but it all had to do, I believe, that he saw what Libby took on her phone. From that video was a still shot that was taken from the video, put on the news. That next day, he calls sheriff's office and says, I was down there. He met an officer, Dan Doolin, in a grocery store parking lot. Back and forth, he said, and I think Dan Doolin, no one thinks that this person would be capable of that. Taking it down more as like a witness. I was down there from this time to this time. I didn't really see anybody. Okay, I saw 3 girls, he said, but not Abby and Libby. Okay, thank you. Files that away. Well, in that tip, for some reason, we don't know who did it, it said cleared. And it was filed away. Well, Kathy Allen, who I believe, I'm sorry, Kathy Shank, who I believe is the hero in all of this, because years had gone on and nothing. No one knew who it was. It appeared to some that he was getting away with this, the person that did this. So she's a volunteer now. She was retired and volunteering in Delphi and filing away. They were moving from one office building to another. She's looking through the files, finds Richard Allen's statement, if you will, coming forward and saying, I was here at this particular time. So she said, oh, it says Richard Allen Whiteman, or Richard Whiteman on Allen Drive, I believe, and his name is Richard Allen. Well, Whiteman was the road, and she's from Delphi, born and raised, and said, wait a minute, there's no Allen Drive, or this is weird, and figured it out that it was Whiteman. Brings it to Sheriff Liggett and says, you should look into this because he said he was there on that day. Here's a tip. And that was it. That's what led to him.
That's incredible because that was 5 years later, right?
Yeah, almost 6. Yep.
Wow.
A long time went by. And because it was almost the perfect storm of the gag order, which we see now more and more. I feel like that's happening more, maybe because of all the media outlets and how it could maybe taint a jury pool. So there was a gag order. No one could really talk. The circumstances of the defense putting out this 136-page onism theory, saying that the crime scene looked a certain way, crime scene photos being leaked, no cameras in the courtroom, no DNA at the scene. It fueled the flames of, do you have the right guy?
It's scary that he went to the police and they had him from day one essentially, but didn't recognize it. Like when the police interview someone like that and just put cleared, it's weird that they don't have to give a full explanation as to why that person was cleared.
Yeah, I been exactly. That's what kind of boggles the mind of, wait a minute, Dan Doolin. But I believe he's a fish and game officer. So everyone was it was all hands on deck. So everyone's involved. Like, okay, I'll take tips. And there were volunteers taking tips. And there was no clear order of how to organize the tips until later on. I truly believe that Dan Doolin just thought, this is a dad who was down there and didn't see anything. And, but right, it's a major mistake. What I don't get, what I wish would be answered is, okay, even if you think that, and then because only a still shot was released, and then the video was released, wouldn't Dan Doolin think back, what about that one guy who said he was there? But again, not trained for this. Nothing like this had ever happened in Delphi, Indiana. So it's not like New Jersey, if it happened there, I mean, the guy would have been caught within a couple of days. It was, I think you would think small town, how many guys could it be? I think that was a major deterrent in the investigation because you think, well, that person's not capable of that. And why? Why would he do it? And everyone in that town, a lot of people have the same kind of blue jacket and blue jeans. And for a while, he did get away with it.
I had said that about the Idaho murders in the past because, it's like obviously these people are trained police officers and everything, but I don't think they're practicing enough because it's such a small town and these things aren't happening often, so they just don't have the knowledge from other experiences to know exactly how to look into these cases and the unique evidence to look at, and even thinking back to just a conversation you had with a potential witness and how that could be a huge red flag. I think
I
that's
thought
really
the same
important.
thing. I thought the same thing. And one thing I did learn in watching this documentary was that Becky, Libby's grandmother, they didn't tell the families anything. So I knew that there was a gag order and I knew that was strict and they were living by that, but I didn't know that it was that strict with the family as well. They didn't tell the family members how the girls were murdered, that a sharp object was used. This is how Becky said she put two and two together. They said, for the funeral, bring a scarf for Libby.
Ugh,
And
that
then
is
that's when she said it
horrible.
took a while, but it sunk in. It's like, wait a minute, you're not. And I thought that about um, Kohberger, the investigation. Now that I'm looking back on it, they didn't know what to do. They were not experienced. Um, I could tell that with in the early days, and the gag order was there as well. I heard Kaylee's father say he didn't know how she died. They really weren't telling them anything. So it seems to be the playbook, which I think needs tweaking in terms of what they tell the families. And I understand shutting off the media, but not completely, because whatever the goal is, um, I don't think it helps. I think it hurts and fuels conspiracy theories. And also, I think that kind of canned statement of the community's not in any danger. How do you know? How do you know?
Yeah.
I think they say that to not create, obviously, mayhem, but there was danger in
Oh,
Idaho.
for
And there was,
Idaho?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And I even think Delphi, like if someone's capable of doing this once, Superintendent Doug Carter said that to me. I said, and this is before anyone was arrested. I said, do you think this will happen again? He said, if they're capable of that, they're capable of doing it again. So I understand you don't want to create panic, but you have to be honest about this could happen. And I understand, even if Kohberger was targeted in some way, and I know that's a broad kind of statement I've learned. It's targeted could be saw them walking by and maybe like the way one of them looked. I don't. It doesn't necessarily mean like a grudge against one particular person. I'm learning, but targeted doesn't mean that the whole community is safe.
No, definitely not. I mean, at the beginning of the Idaho trial, I, as a layperson, am like, they got this guy, they're going to have a really solid case. And then
Mhm.
after we watched that press conference after the sentencing, I was shocked. I was like, I really don't think they had as much solid evidence as they thought they
I was
did.
there at the presser, and I think you're right. I do, and I think that's why the plea deal was taken
Yes.
without really consulting, like, "Okay, yes, yes, yes." And then it's, like, kind of jarring, and I've said this before, if I've learned anything in all of the cases I've covered is that different family members mourn differently, and they're not all supposed to agree, and here there were 4 families. In Delphi, there were 2 families, um, actually 6 with the surviving roommates. It's getting their input's going to be different. And the way you could tell with Kaylee's father, Steve, the way he was combative, he wanted to fight this. And he even said during victim impact statements, once they got the news that next day, he said, let's go. We got to rally, we got to fight this. So fight was his way of doing this. And with Stacy Chapin, who I got to meet, it was more, and I'm generalizing, but mourning of their son and saying we can never bring him back. We don't need to be around that monster. So they're different. They're obvious, clearly different.
This episode is brought to you by The Gross Room.
Guys, this week we did a celebrity death dissection on Hulk Hogan, and we talk all about the long term side effects of doing steroids for your entire life. And you wouldn't even believe that people actually decide to do these when you see some of the side effects, especially men with the small testicles. That's something I would definitely think that they wouldn't be into. Next week, I'm not sure what we're doing yet. We just are always waiting for breaking news for any celebrities, and we have a lot of things on the back burner for high profile deaths as well. And don't forget, tomorrow we have our YouTube live. It will be our third one where we talk about some stories that we don't talk about on Mother Knows Death, as well as anything else that our members are interested in.
Yeah, head over to thegrossroom.com now to sign up. So you were in the room that day when Bryan Kohberger was sentenced.
Yeah.
What was it like being in there? We are so terrified of him personally. Is he as scary looking in person
I
as we
will
see in
say
pictures?
he is, but I will say in Delphi, when I first went to a hearing and saw Richard Allen, the way he would stare. I was sitting next to Libby's family, and he just turned around and glared at us. That I felt that stare. With
Yeah.
Koberger, it was more straight ahead. He walked in, he looked at his mom, smile like a half smile, sat down. I looked to my right, so I'm kind of 3 seats before his mom and sister, and I'm kind of directly in the same line of seats, but there's a kind of a middle section that's out. And I see Steve Gonzalez shaking his leg, like shaking, and scrolling through his phone. And you could tell he was nervous, that he was reading through what he was about to say. And I waited all night in line. I'm not kidding, 16 hours. So I was delirious. I was next to Surviving the Survivor and Joel. And it was good to have him, and you get to meet the people in the line. I thought that I'd go around maybe 4 a.m. because that's when the court said you could line up outside of the courthouse. You can't camp all night. Well, then I get a call. You got to go now. People are lining up at 10:30 at night. So it was all night. So it was kind of delirium set in, but I walked in and you're wide awake when you see the family members and know how much they've wanted to do this and say things to this guy, but no emotion from him. I did see when it was Kaylee's sister, I saw his jaw clench. That got to him. Kaylee's father got to him. Um, also, I've interviewed Dr. G. He's a body language expert, psychologist. He said to me that he believes, and I believe him in looking at it now, that he kind of he said, I hate saying this, Susan, but he thrives off of women's pain. So the crying roommate, Dylan, likes that. The men
Yeah.
confronting him doesn't like it. Doesn't like, and it was clear the way he was kind of, even if it's ever so slightly, just kind of leaning in a bit, and he tilted his head a bit when Dylan was talking, almost connecting with her when she was crying. It was sick, but I will say it was the most. We had a 10-minute break right after Kaylee's sister went, and Olivia, and I just people clapped. I've never clapped in court and everyone's clapping. And then we walk out and I said to Steve, I'm so sorry, but your family could do a master class on victim impact statements. I mean, that was everything that he hated. She mentioned, and I just thought it was so well done. And hearing the their injuries now, like in the new documents that came out, and Steve said that they heard that couples hours before, like how many
Wow.
times they were stabbed. They heard before the victim impact statements by a couple hours. If I heard that, I don't know if I would be able to not jump over and jump on, like attack him. I don't. The strength they have to stand there and just look straight ahead. And Xana's um, aunt and uncle were there. It was so touching. Maddie's father saying, I've had addiction problems, and Maddie is the one that helped me. That was heartbreaking. Um, if you see it, if you saw it, it was streamed. But to be there, it was just, and nothing from him, really nothing.
Do you think he was on medication or that's just really how he is?
That's what my dad asked me. My parents aren't familiar with the case at all. So they were watching knowing I was there. And that night, my dad said, he's got to be on something. And from everything I've heard, to legal experts, to people who know what prisoners have access to or not, said no. I just think he has nothing left. And I think he admitted that years before with the that he was seeing, what is that called, snow, or uh, that
Oh,
he
the
just said he had,
visual snow or
yeah.
whatever.
And he
Yeah.
said he would be around his family members, no feelings. And he put them in caps, none. So I just don't think he has what we have.
I can't even imagine being there. We watched the whole thing on the live stream.
What did you guys think when you saw Kaylee's sister go up?
She
Well,
needs to be an attorney. She's
before
incredible.
before she started talking, I said to Maria, "Listen, like this is first obviously with the surviving roommates that like shook me.
Me
I
too.
oh my god, like
I was crying. It
I
was so
couldn't I couldn't
upsetting.
sleep for like 2 nights after that. It was terrible cuz
Kohberger's mother cried the most at that.
oh
Oh, that's
Mother
really?
and sister,
interesting.
yeah.
I
When
was wondering that actually what their reaction was.
nothing to Olivia, to Kaylee's sister, not much. Maybe anger, not anger, but I can't say that, but nothing. But with Dylan, the surviving roommate, it was wiping away tears when she said, and I'm paraphrasing, will I fe- if you come back, will I survive? Am I next? Like, and it made me wonder, maybe I'm just speculating and reading into this. Did they feel in danger in that house with Bryan Kohberger? Because remember, one of the sisters, not the sister that was there, kind of maybe suspected that was it him when they were looking for the same type of car he had. You wouldn't think it might be your brother if there weren't some weird signs. So, but yeah, that exactly. I um, felt like it was PTSD and trauma. I felt like we could feel her pain. Did you guys feel the same?
Oh, absolutely.
I just never, I mean, I definitely, I never got on board with all the people that were attacking her because I was like, clearly she saw something that scared the shit out of her and she was scared in her bedroom and with the door. I would have been the same way. So I never was on board with that.
Me
But
either.
just, I didn't really think about her. Like, what really got to me was when she said she was sleeping in bed with her mom and dad for a year.
I know.
And I was just like, because I have kids and like they haven't been in my bed for a very long
I
time. And to
know.
think about an adult child sleeping in your bed because they're that scared just broke my heart for
Me
her.
too.
Just
Me
thinking, like, how is she ever going to ever have a normal life? You
I
know,
know.
really? Like, I don't know how you ever get over that. But unfortunately, I kept saying to Maria, this dude doesn't care.
Yeah.
Like that, I
True.
said, you need to like psychologically mess with him. And then the Gonzalez family got up and I was like, oh my God, I don't even know who could have done it better. They took time, a lot of time to research and just like emotionally stab him to death, right? Like just cut and cut and cut him. Like,
it was really
I've never
incredible.
seen anything like it, and I did hear her say, I think it was Good Morning America interview, hear her say she stalked the stalker. Like, she read everything she could about him. I heard that she consulted with Ann Burgess. I just think they did it, and I also heard her say that she was a little hesitant about everything she was going to say, and then she saw her dad kind of turn the podium, and he said it said on there, "Do not move." He turned it. And but to see, so she walked off after Olivia went, everyone's clapping, and the hug her dad gave her, I saw that victory, like, we got him.
yeah.
Oh my God, I'm
His
gonna cry.
nostrils were flaring like he was
Yes.
mad. And I mean, it doesn't make anything better, but it is nice to know that maybe you could hurt that, like have that person feel a little bit of pain that you're feeling, you know? I mean,
Yeah, when she said basically, and Steve said it too, you failed. You're not good. You brought us closer together when she said you were a failure, about mentioning his teaching and also the kind of coward the way he did it, and everything about it was on point. You're right. You're right about the research. She had to have done hours and hours to get everything. It was on point.
No,
it
she
was so
really needs to consider a career in
I
law because
know.
I always joke. I was just joking with Cheryl about this that I could never be an attorney because when I get passionate about what I'm talking about, I tear up and I cry. So I'm like,
They'd be
can you?
like, "Here's the crying attorney."
Yeah, exactly. So I'm like, to see somebody that's gone through this horrific tragedy get up there and really give it to her sister's killer was an incredible thing to see.
It really was. It
well, a
really
lot
was.
of people were there were of obviously because we're talking about the internet, there were a lot of people that thought that it was overly staged and dramatic and attention seeking and things like that. And I'm sitting there thinking basically like, oh, she's setting herself up to have a podcast or something like that, which I think like she should and she
So
should,
what, right?
right? Because like how are any of these people ever going to have a life, this is their identity now,
And
unfortunately.
and if you hear, I have a sister a year and a half older than me. If you hear your sibling, your mother, your what have you, is stabbed so many times she's unrecognizable, stabbed more than 30 times, I believe it was 34. I- That's all I would have was anger. That's not staged. That's human emotion. That
Yeah.
is fury. Fury.
Do you think that, I mean, obviously the internet coincides with all of these people thinking that the other side is wrong and that they're innocent. Like there's a large population of people actually online that think that Bryan Kohberger is innocent, which I
I
mean,
know.
at least the Richard Allen one, I mean, I mean, I guess him admitting it is the same as having DNA essentially, right? But it's just like with Bryan Kohberger, there's so many things, even
And
though
I
they
never
don't.
heard him say it's not me. I never heard him. He didn't even say not guilty. His lawyer had to say it for him. What he
Yeah,
was
didn't
pleading it.
wasn't it no contest?
Yeah, it was bizarre. I've never heard the guy. Well, during that hearing, he said, "I respectfully decline
Ugh.
But besides that, I mean, but I will tell you, it's real because I met three women in the line behind me and Joel, and one of the women was so nice. She drove me to my hotel to gotta get changed and kind of grab something quickly to go back to the line. And she was very gracious and nice, and I met a lot of very nice people. So I'm sitting in court, and the one woman next to me said, Do you think it's before it started? Do you think he's guilty? And I said, Yeah, yeah. She goes, The two women next to me don't. And I go, What? So I hung out with them all night. They never mentioned it. But I, to, to me, I'm like, What? What?
I wouldn't have got in the car with one of those people. They're
But these
clearly.
were like women. I know I shouldn't act so dramatic, but they look like us. Like, what do you mean? And I believe they truly believe it. It's not for attention. They don't have podcasts. They don't want clicks. They truly believe he's not guilty.
We had one person write on one of our videos, we were talking about him. You guys have nothing to prove that he did this. He is
I get that
completely
too.
innocent. And I'm like, what do you mean? There was DNA at the
There's a
scene.
couple things in there. Like one woman said, Susan, you have to read all the documents. Nothing points to him. And maybe because we've had CSI on and all of that, that they think the whole room's going to be in a glow when they put that light on the, I don't know. And with, at least with Kohberger, I think and I just spoke about this. I was on Nancy Grace. There was planning, so much so, because now that the documents are coming out, we're learning more. And I think about my college experience. It never shocked me that the surviving roommates didn't call 911 till later. When you're in college, you're up all night, you sleep in. It's not like living like I don't know, a 30-year-old. It's just different to me. So I believe that, and I live with three girls, my college experience in Arizona. We had parties. If we had parties, there were people in and out. We didn't lock the door. It was kind of an off campus house, but it was all campus people living around. Similar. I wouldn't know who was at the party when I was there. Like I couldn't pick out one particular guy. And I think maybe that, remember early on when Kaylee said her family said that she had a stalker. So everyone
Mhm.
thought, well, maybe she was the target. I think he was watching that house. I think he targeted the entire house, maybe Kaylee and Maddie because they were on that side. But I think he was behind those bushes. And there are reports that Bethany, one of the surviving roommates with Dylan, said to the authorities, look, the dog was acting a little weird. Kaylee's dog would run kind of in the woods in the back and not come back for a little while. And that wasn't like him. And some people believe that he was befriending the dog, meaning being around in that area because his phone pings in that area 20 plus times. And that he was, think about it, he could have treats feeding the dog. So
Oh,
thinking that's an
wow.
obstacle when I get in that house. And the dog looks like a fluffy, loving dog, but just being able to do that. I think he stalked that house and I think he planned on doing that. I truly do. So I think, I forget my point. I talk so much, but when you, I think we were
You're
talking.
saying because people are saying that they think
Oh, thank
he's
you. So I think he
innocent.
could have been dressed like Dexter underneath. I'm sorry. Like with everything to have no DNA, but he messed up. Some people think he left the knife thing on purpose. I don't know if I do, but you're right. It was only that small piece of that tiny bit of blood. And if you think about how many times they were stabbed and what the room that Xana was in looked like, it is shocking that there wasn't more blood, but I don't know. I think he planned for it. So I think he changed clothes, maybe in the woods somewhere.
It
Oh,
is
that's
possible
interesting.
actually that he did leave that on purpose because he did it and he was kind of proud of it and wanted people
Yeah.
to know that he did it. And if he kind of has that dead behind the eyes like nothing to
Yeah.
live for thing, he might have said, "You know what? I could go to prison and I could just become famous for this and still do my studies." I mean, he
Yeah.
will. That's definitely happening. There're going to be people knocking down his door to do interviews and
I
books
agree. I
and
agree.
getting studied. He wants to be on the list of Ted Bundy and BTK, you know, like, and he's there. That he's succeeded in that sense.
Yeah, that was mentioned too during the victim impact statements. Like, you wanted to be this, you weren't good. Steve said they caught you the next day. They were working with Pennsylvania police, essentially saying the next day, like, you didn't get away with this. But I wonder if he didn't leave that, how long it would have taken. Would they have connected the car? I don't know.
It is
Well,
really
well,
scary.
I think that is what's really scary actually, because if they didn't find that, I'm sure they would have been able to connect the car because they were checking to see, but
The
not
vital
his
options.
car.
Right.
I mean, other people had that car. How was he connected? The only way that he was connected to it was through the DNA.
Yeah.
Because didn't at some point I think someone pulled up the when they said they were looking for this car, someone at his university said that there was a car registered there, but how were they ever going to connect that it was his actual car?
I know. I
Because
know. I wonder
they
if the dad knew when he was driving him across country, or maybe not. I feel like the family knew he had problems and tried to help with. I felt like the father in things that he said in the past. Like, he would say, my son has a hard time making friends, years before. And but I don't think your mind, I don't know. It was bizarre. Every time I see more video of him being pulled over, and he just doesn't smile at all. It just is so weird to see.
another thing that I haven't heard too many people talk about is that his sister was like some like C or D list actress in some slasher film. Did you know
I
that?
What?
heard that. I heard that. I didn't know if it was true. I just heard that last night. I forget where I saw it. Yes.
And it was about like college girls getting stabbed.
Isn't
Like
that weird?
it is weird. It's
Is
really weird. Like
that's true? Like that
that's true.
wasn't just
That's
on some
100%
forums?
true. I read it. I've heard it a couple times, but I just read it on a more legit like People or something did. What's up with Bryan Kohberger's family? Like, what are the details of them?
Yeah.
And I was just like, is that like, why is no one talking about that? Is it how is that coincidental? Like, what's
I know.
it's just
And when did he
weird.
get fascinated? Uh, and why was he majoring in that? Like, how many years before was he planning this? Like, is that why? I don't know. And I wonder if he will talk. I know that the judge at the end said, like, he shouldn't get any attention. And, if you want to study him, it shouldn't be public. But I feel like he will talk.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and as much as we probably shouldn't give him, any more attention, of course the media is going to want to hear what he has to say if he reaches out to anybody, because everybody's going to want the exclusive to see his
Oh,
side of the
yeah.
story.
Yeah. I wonder what he does say, if he ever says anything.
It's hard to say, because how are we supposed to trust that it's the truth?
Mm-hmm.
And
You're
then,
not. Mm-hmm.
there was a lot of criticism from the prosecutor saying there was nothing sexual about the murder when we
That was
know
so strange.
it
I
was
was
so
thinking about that.
strange.
You can't say that. In everything that we have learned, I've learned through Cheryl. I asked Cheryl about Delphi. I always say that we always want to know why. It's the first thing we always ask: who, what, where, when, why. We never really get a why where we say, oh, that makes sense. Unless we hear like a crime of passion, jealousy. We say, oh. But with something like this, there's never really a correct answer. But I believe it was sexually motivated in Delphi. We heard he was meeting with Dr. Walla in the prison, and he mentioned, Richard Allen did mention something to that effect. But Cheryl said, as only Cheryl would, girl, it always is. Like, so for the prosecutor to say that, it's like, what?
I think
Because it can be, and it could show itself in various ways,
I
if you
think
know what
he
I'm saying.
meant to say that they were not sexually assaulted, but to say the whole murder was not sexually motivated was just an error on his part, because
Yeah.
I mean,
He probably went in his car and like
well, they saw the porn he was watching on his phone, and then
But I've heard, and I know this sounds weird, but Joseph Scott Morgan said it on a panel I was on, that could be the sexual
yeah,
with the knife. Like, that could be something sexual to them.
exactly.
To
And
him, sorry.
I think Matt Murphy explains it really well in his book, The Book of Murder,
Oh,
because
yeah.
I've been seeing him even doing a lot of press about Kohberger too, where he's like, nearly all these types of killings
Yeah,
are
he said
sexual.
that. Yeah.
So I think it was just I'm hoping he just misspoke and meant to say they weren't sexually assaulted, not the entire case wasn't sexual.
But because there was a gag order, I would just say you were already saying as little as possible, why throw that in? Like, it
Exactly.
doesn't make anyone feel better. The Xana was stabbed, but I think more than 50 times. I don't know. I felt like I that it was but they got what they wanted. I
And it
mean,
was, yeah, exactly.
he
Like it
gets
was
life. That's life.
overkill.
That's the death penalty. You're dying in prison. But I don't know.
There's a whole entire psychology about overkill people, right? Like he didn't have to stab any of them that many times
I
because
know.
they all would have died with if he knew what he was doing, one or two stabs,
Is it
right?
hate that they have? Why is
Yeah,
that?
it's always seen in a crime of passion.
Well, think
Uh,
about Jodi Arias and how many times she stabbed Travis Alexander. I mean, it was
That was
nuts.
nuts. That was nuts. Yes, you're right about the overkill um,
I mean,
aspect of it.
if he didn't know them, like you just wouldn't do that to somebody unless there was like something about it, you
It's
know?
the fetish component of
Because
And
it.
that's that
envy. He
yeah.
hated them. He couldn't live their life. He hated them. That's my opinion. Without being a professional in the field of
And probably
psychiatry.
even like Ethan, like he probably hated Ethan because he just would
Yeah,
want to be a guy like that. Like he would want to have friends and beautiful women around him like that in college, and like that he just could never be that person. And maybe that was
I
something
agree.
with him too. You know,
I
like
agree.
a lot of times you're like, was this accidental that these people so happened to be there or not? You know, like
Hmm. Yeah,
so.
and if Ethan was sleeping, as we've heard, why did you kill him? Like, why? It was just and with Dr. G, who I interviewed, he said he noticed a bit of jealousy when someone it was someone spoke on behalf of Bethany, and she said Ethan was Xana's true love, and it made everyone believe that true love exists, and he was just wonderful, and you wanted to be around him. And Kohberger didn't like that.
No.
Yeah, that's really interesting. So you speaking of the victims' families, you are doing you're going to be at CrimeCon with us, so we're excited to see you and hang out.
Yay!
It's I just looked at the date today and I was like, "Oh my god, this is
It's
in a month."
close.
Like, yeah. I don't
I
know what I'm
know.
going to wear.
I
Uh,
thought that too. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's getting close.
so you're doing a panel with the family, correct?
Yep.
Some of the
Yep.
family members?
Exactly. And Libby's cousin Josh, his victim impact statement was amazing. And I was in the courtroom there. There weren't cameras, but it was like from the heart. And I remember that morning, the printer wasn't working in the courthouse and he's running around and he's about 22, I think. And, but he memorized it the night before. And essentially saying there's a special place in hell for you, and just it was from the heart. So the victim impact statements, I while I was in there in the hearing, Kohberger sentencing hearing, and the impact statements there, I got a text from Libby's sister Kelsey. Said, if you see any of the family members, tell them I'm thinking about them, because to her she's like, I have a special place for sisters. Oh my God,
It's
it's
so sad.
so
So
Yeah.
I think it
emotional.
helps. And even if he doesn't feel a thing, let's say he doesn't, I think it helps in the healing process to get that, to be able to say that, whatever you want to say.
Well, if our listeners are more interested in the Delphi case, Susan has this incredible book. I'm going to link it in the description of this episode. We are so very excited to see you at CrimeCon. Can you tell everybody where else they could find you?
Yes. Started a YouTube channel called Headline Crime. Uh, and I'm still learning everything about it. But I love being able to be uh, more like myself, because as a news anchor, you read the headlines and you're just trained in a certain way. And friends with Lauren, who does hidden true crime, and now I know you guys. But I always think about, well, what do I like to watch and what do I like to listen to? Because that's and why am I drawn to that person? It's because you want to hear real things, and it's exciting. I get to interview people surrounding certain cases and ask questions that I've always wondered about. I'm learning things along the way. So it's exciting.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I've seen some of your videos and you're getting good views and it's awesome. I love it.
Thanks. I'm crawling. I'm crawling out of the gate. But
Well,
I'm
then,
patient. They say you have to be patient
You have to. That's
and
just how it
consistent.
is.
Consistent.
It's very hard now. Like I feel like because I started my Instagram like 13 years ago now,
Wow.
Yeah.
almost. And it was just so easy back then. It was very
Yeah.
organic. It was just like you post stuff and it, that was when stuff showed up on your feed instantly, like Instagram,
Yeah.
right? And then
Mhm.
now it's like sometimes I'm in my feed. I just saw a post the other day that was from someone from May.
Yeah.
Oh my
I'm just like,
gosh.
I don't care about this. I want to know what the people I'm following are doing today,
Yeah.
So,
That's so true.
yeah, the
You forget who
algorithm
you're
ruined it.
following at times. You're like, "Oh,
Exactly. And it's, I mean, I follow Maria and I rarely see her pictures. And then one will come up and I go back on her account and I'm like, oh, you posted like 6 things I didn't see. It's just annoying.
it's
And
weird now." I know.
YouTube's kind of the same way. It's just not as, all those people that got those millions of followers and everything, it's just like kind of not as easy to do anymore.
You're right. You're right.
And
You're
it
right. But
sucks.
one thing I do know, because I'm part of it, different communities that I'm part of, is that if you want to do it and if you have something to say or something to share, that you will find people who enjoy listening to you. There was a woman in the bathroom at the Kohberger hearing, and she said, "I've been thinking about starting a crime channel." And I said, "You should." "Well, I don't know. There's too many people." I'm like, "Well, no one's you. If you want to
Yeah.
start it,
Yeah.
start it." And that's the beauty of having access and doing what you want to do. And who cares if it's 10 people?
Yeah,
They're listening
exactly.
to you and they like you. So just do it. That's my tidbit, my 2 cents.
That's perfect
No, it's true.
advice.
All right. Well, thanks so much for being here today. It was awesome. And
Yeah,
we're looking forward to hanging out.
you too. And we're Jersey, my peeps. What else?
Yes,
Yes.
I said that in the intro. I was just like, "Oh yeah, like she's from Jersey, so we hit it off right away."
Love it. Jersey strong.
Yes.
Thank you.
All
Good to
right,
see
we'll
you
see you.
guys.
Thanks. Thank you for listening to Mother Knows Death. As a reminder, my training is as a pathologist assistant. I have a master's level education and specialize in anatomy and pathology education. I am not a doctor and I have not diagnosed or treated anyone, dead or alive, without the assistance of a licensed medical doctor. This show, my website, and social media accounts are designed to educate and inform people based on my experience working in pathology so they can make healthier decisions regarding their life and well-being. Always remember that science is changing every day, and the opinions expressed in this episode are based on my knowledge of those subjects at the time of publication. If you are having a medical problem, have a medical question, or are having a medical emergency, please contact your physician or visit an urgent care center, emergency room, or hospital. Please rate, review, and subscribe to Mother Knows Death on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or anywhere you get podcasts. Thanks.